Hello everyone, my name is Eric, and today I want to talk to you about the honest to goodness truth about Connecticut wrapped cigars. You are watching Oakland Tobacconist. If you're interested in the Palamino by Stallone Cigars or many other Connecticut's that potentially we might be talking about today, make certain you join the OGT community. We'd love to have you. Please do not forget to like, to comment, subscribe, hit the bell so that you're alerted every time we produce new content. I want to talk to you today about the common misconception we think or perhaps believe about Connecticut cigars. A good starting point is, what is a Connecticut cigar? Typically that's in reference to the wrapper leaf that is around that cigar and how it is made and what the ingredient is. Now, while we know that the wrapper leaf is not the entirety of its identity, a lot of people associate the wrapper leaf as sort of like the spearheading or the helm that's guiding the ship of flavor. I tend to believe that. I think back in the day, a long time ago, I used to believe that the wrapper leaf makes up 60 to 70% of the flavor. While I do think it heavily influences it, and while I do think that is where you're contacting the cigar itself, that's not completely strictly true. I feel like it's what blenders will blend to make certain that your wrapper leaf is not at war with your filler leaf. And so with that idea, there are two major, probably the most common type of Connecticut wrappers out there you're gonna see. Something that looks like this, that is sometimes given the nickname of Blondie, or those lighter wrap cigars, or more like golden hue, whichever, but that's what you're gonna find on a Connecticut seed like this, or you're gonna hear about Connecticut broadleaf. Vastly different. The Connecticut broadleaf is a seed that I've talked about before, grown in the Connecticut River Valley. It's usually fermented to be a Maduro. It's typically very rustic, very textured. Some people say it's a beautiful leaf, some say it's an ugly leaf. Either way, it will be far darker than what you see before me here. This is a Connecticut seed. So originally the Connecticut shade-grown seed was grown in the Connecticut River Valley, but most commonly we see a lot of Ecuadorian Connecticut shade-grown wrapper. And that's because they took that seed and took it down to Ecuador. Ecuador, you have natural cloud coverage, so there's this natural filtration from the sun. So as the sun is then giving its energy and nutrients to the plant, it's naturally shaded, so you don't necessarily always have to put cheesecloth over the top or some kind of fabric to then bring down the strength and flavor to make it more smooth. And at this point, Ecuador produces some of the most coveted Connecticut shade-grown wrapper. That being said, a lot of people see this lighter cigar, the Blondies as they are called, and when they see this, they think it's something very, very mild, very smooth, but potentially too mild and flavorless. Or if you like to normally smoke something heavier, you normally will pass up this. Or some people look at it as a very bitter side, and there is some truth to all these aspects. But I think it's helpful to have a well-rounded idea, well-rounded concept of what Connecticut shade wrapper is and how it can be used. One of the biggest common misconceptions, number one, is that it is too mild and it is flavorless. From the beginning, from the 60s, the 50s, the 70s, mild cigars is kind of what controlled the entire industry in America. In fact, so mild, even a step further, was Candela leaf. And Candela was one of the most popular leaves to have a wrapped cigar around. It's almost like a greenish hue because it delivers a very mild, sometimes grassy, sometimes sweet, sometimes creamy, but overall a very mild experience. And then as the cigar boom continued, since 1992 and the inception of Cigar Aficionado, and as it kind of builded, other concepts of blending cigars came into fashion, and then stronger cigars. And people were mistaking the concept of very strong by under fermented. So it's not like you were using the heaviest ingredients. While there were heavy ingredients in that cigar, you're using unfermented tobacco so that it gives you this peppery, sometimes even ammonia aggressiveness when you're smoking it. Through the transitions, Connecticut shade wrap has always been something that people either love or sometimes people very much dislike. As tobacco in the industry has changed through time, not every cigar that is produced as a Connecticut is that newspapery, wispy, flavorless thing. In fact, there are a lot of new blends on the horizon using amazing ingredients, a great wrapper leaf, that blenders have blended a bit more oomph to it. You'll hear the term like not your grandfather's Connecticut, which is a part of what I'm talking about. I think overall it's been an awesome thing for Connecticut's, because for me, who typically likes something a bit stronger, a bit fuller, once in a while, if I want that coffee cigar pairing, sometimes a Connecticut's the only thing that will really satiate that like hunger for it. And so the reason I bring up the Palomino is this is a prime example of a new age cigar, New World cigar, blended by Tony Barrios of Stallone Cigars. And what this is more of an amped up. I've talked about flavor, strength, and body before, which I will have another video about so that you guys can understand that concept. But this Connecticut, while in strength term, I would say mild, pretty much mild across the board, but its body, its smoke texture, really fills the palate and offers a fuller experience and flavor full forward. When you light this cigar up, there is toasted nuttiness, there is a bit of vanilla, there is a bit of even like slight pepper detected on the retrohale, there's a touch of cream, as well as some hay aspects to it, and really, the dynamic elements in this cigar is not what you would have probably found in Connecticut's far long ago, because it's using stronger filler leaf from Nicaragua in conjunction with that Connecticut wrapper. So we've seen this like shift of how Connecticut cigars can be different. Let's tackle another aspect, that is Connecticut's are always bitter. While it is true there is a lot of bitterness involved in Connecticut tobacco, you can get sort of an acrid bitterness. It really depends on the priming, how well it has been fermented, how long it's been aged. That can really like change the entire dynamics of Connecticut tobacco. With the Palomino, bitterness, while it might be detected for some people that are really sensitive to it, it's very much in the far back end. It's not something I really detect on this. I definitely have had some very bitter Connecticut cigars, almost like that feeling when you put an aspirin in your mouth before you wash it down. There's like an aspartame, like bitterness that's going on, not detected here on the Stallone Palamino. Instead, it's got sweeter notes to it, and I really truly believe there are ways to blend the bitterness out of it. Using the right ingredients, the right blender, we can see a whole span of Connecticut cigars that exist right now, and you can even check out and kind of learn more about that on our other social media platforms. Either way, leaps and bounds of where Connecticut's were. And I think, too, some of that ideology has been carried over into New World cigars. Some people still think these are very true aspects that hamper the experience of Connecticut's. Drop down in the comments, what has your experience been with Connecticut cigars? Are there ones that you really like or ones you definitely dislike? And if you do enjoy Connecticut cigars, what are some of your favorites? That being said, thank you for watching and listening a bit about the history of Connecticut wrap cigars. I'd love to hear your feedback. We will see you next time on Oakland Tobacconist.